welcome to Bible Time. What are we doing today?
I got JC with me. What are we doing today? We are doing Matthew chapter 6, starting in verse 16. Yesterday was P-Man, the birthday boy, and today is JC Taylor Brown. So come and join us. All right, welcome to Bible Time, everybody. Thanks for coming. We are in Matthew 16. Now, Jay, just got to fill you in on where we're at. This is called the Sermon on the Mount, and it's like 3 chapters of Jesus talking about all these different subjects at one time to all these people. And so he's talking about things that we shouldn't do. He's talking about things that we should do. He's talking about being the light of the world. In fact, I think that's one of your favorite verses is, let your light shine before all people so that they might see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Mm-hmm. It's that same section, okay?
Really?
Yeah. So I want to point out just a couple things about the last 2 major sections. He talked about giving to the needy, and he talked about praying. And both of these sections were about motivation. Do you know what motivation is?
Like, you're trying to, motivate yourself. You, get yourself to, think about it, and then you want to do it more. Or you're, it's like, if you got ice cream after you finished a math test, you'd be motivated to finish the math test.
Totally true. And another way of thinking about motivation is also the why you do something. So in that case, you're motivated to finish the math test because you wanted the ice cream. Mm-hmm. So the ice cream is the reason for your motivation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's exactly it. So Jesus talks about giving to the poor, and he talks about prayer. And what he's talking about is the motivation. So back in the day, people would give their money away in front of other people so that other people would see them and think, oh wow, you're so special. Or sometimes people would pray standing on the street corner so that other people would see them, and that other people would say, wow, you're so special. Now that's not something that people would probably do today, because standing and praying on the street corner might not be considered that special. But they would do that back in the day, do these things that God wanted them to do, but they would do them for the wrong reasons. They would do them so that other people would see them and that they would be praised by other people. Can you see why that would be wrong?
Yeah. Because
God wants us to do stuff for him, not for other people. I mean, he wants us to do stuff for other people, but not with the motivation of being praised by other people.
What's a hypocrite?
A hypocrite is an actor.
Oh.
So he says, you're being like an actor right now. You're doing something and pretending like it's for God when really it's so you can get your own praise. So he's teaching like that about giving, about prayer. And that brings us to this section on fasting. Now I know you know what fasting is, but let's talk about that in a second. Remember the rules of Bible Time? Just stop anytime and let's talk about anything that sticks out to you. And also that we're reading the Bible, not just to read it, but to grow in our relationship with God. Okay? So this is from God's heart. So let's listen to what he says. He says, this is what Jesus says. When you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites or the actors. Do not look gloomy. Do you know what gloomy means? Oh, I'm fasting. Oh, it's so hard to fast. Oh, feel sorry for me. Oh, look at me. Oh, I'm fasting. It's hard. No.
It's not hard.
Well, it might be hard. It definitely can be hard. But don't look gloomy. Don't let anybody see that you're gloomy, because if you let everybody know that you're fasting, then you're missing it. So he says, when you fast, don't look all gloomy like the actors, for they disfigure their faces, and their fasting may be seen by others. So they're making their faces look all sad and droopy so that other people might see that they're fasting. And then Jesus says, truly, or listen to this, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head, wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you.
What does in secret mean?
In secret, yeah. Okay, so I want to point out a few things. The last 2 sections.
What does it mean?
Well, I'll tell you. Look, the last two sections, he talks about rewards. Reward. He talks about don't be like a hypocrite. And he talks about your Father who sees in secret will reward you. He does that with giving to the poor. Same thing with prayer. He says, he's talking about rewarding. He says your Father who's in secret, your Father sees in secret, he will reward you. Okay? So it's the same theme. First of all, JC, he says this, when you fast. What does that mean when he says when you fast? What's unique about that? Can you think of something that's interesting about him saying when you fast?
I can't really think of anything because, like, when you fast, like, that just means, like, if you want to fast, this is what you do or whatever.
Well,
when you fast.
Okay. But he didn't say if you want to fast, this is how to fast. He says, and when you fast.
Oh. He's saying that everyone is going to fast, maybe? Because
exactly.
He's saying when you fast. That probably means that everyone's going to fast.
Well, Jesus, do you know what an assumption is?
No.
Jesus is making an assumption. So an assumption is when you assume, you believe, you think somebody is going to do something. It's like, oh yeah, they're going to do that. Like, I assume you'll do that. Like, because it makes sense in my mind that you'll do something. I am just believing that you're going to do it without even asking you. That's what an assumption is. So like, if I said to you, hey JC, can you please unload the dishwasher by the time I get back, and I walked in and it wasn't done, and you're like, yeah, why did you think I was going to do it? And I was like, well, I assumed you would do it because I asked you to. Right? So we do this all the time. We assume, we believe somebody's going to do something before they do it, and that's an assumption. Okay? So this is really interesting, right? Because Jesus, he doesn't say, hey, if you ever want to fast, if you ever think about it, if you desire to do it, then, think about this. Instead, he says, when you fast. He's assuming that we will do that. What do you think about that?
It's cool.
Okay, so you're fine with Jesus assuming that you're going to fast?
Yeah.
You're fine with Jesus thinking, okay, yeah, JC's obviously going to fast.
Yeah.
Cool. When's the last time you fasted?
Like a year ago.
Actually, not a year. You fasted in January last.
Oh.
So half a year ago. So even as a 10-year-old, Jay, you need to know, Jesus is assuming, believing, planning on us doing this
But I did
to
do
seek
it.
him. Right. So, and he assumes you'll do it even more. Okay? So if you've never fasted, or you have no intention of fasting, just like giving, just like prayer, this is an assumption that Jesus has, and fasting is not a diet. It's for the sake of withholding physical pleasure and physical sustenance from ourselves to teach our body to pursue Jesus and trust God. That's what fasting is. Stopping eating food or certain foods for the sake of seeking God. Okay. So he says, when you fast, I assume you're gonna, don't look gloomy like the actors, for they disfigure their faces, that they may be seen by others. So this is their motivation, Jay. Remember earlier we were talking about ice cream?
Yeah.
And you're saying, okay, if somebody says you can have ice cream if you finish the math test, then the why you want to finish the math test is to get the ice cream. That's your motivation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what Jesus is saying is don't fast so that you'll get the ice cream. Don't fast so that other people will see you.
Well,
Don't fast so that you'll get money. Don't fast for any of those reasons. And he says, if you do it for that reason, then you will have already received your reward. So put it like this, Jay, to use your example. If if somebody said to you, hey, JC, if you fast for a day or an hour or whatever, I will give you a big, huge pile of ice cream. That's tempting to you, isn't it? But if that becomes your reason for fasting, then when you're done fasting, your reward will be the ice cream, right?
Yeah.
But what God is saying is, I don't want your reward in your heart to be anything else, whether it's ice cream or being seen by others or getting praised or anything at all. I don't want your reward to be provided by something else. When you fast, the whole point of fasting is to seek God. And so if you're going to actually fast, I want you to fast in order to seek me. And if you seek me, then your Father who sees in secret will reward you, and your reward will come from God. So what Jesus is saying is, either your reward is going to be other people seeing you, or ice cream, or whatever, other people praising you in this case, or your reward is going to come from God.
But
Which would you prefer?
The reward from God.
Right. Because God's the only one that can give the best reward that there is. And no matter what that is from him, we trust that it's going to be the best for us, and it's going to be good for him.
But sometimes you don't need motivation. Sometimes you just get it.
Right. We should do a lot of things for God that we don't need motivation for, huh?
Yeah, like, I don't need anything to motivate me to get ice cream, but I'm just getting it.
Right. Because that feeds a natural thing that you desire in your body, in your flesh, no matter, anyway. You don't need to be motivated for ice cream because you want that. But why is it that God is so good? Isn't God better than ice cream?
Yeah.
Isn't God better than anything?
Yeah, he was the one that created ice cream.
Right. So have you ever thought about how weird it is that nobody has to ask us to desire ice cream or candy? But why do we act so lazy towards desiring God? Like, do you desire God with more passion than you desire ice cream?
Yeah.
With more excitement than you desire anything else?
Yeah.
You do? I love you. A lot of people in this world, Jay, they pursue so many other things more than God. It's like they care about money more. They care about ice cream more. They care about boats more, or cars more, or their job more, or whatever. And they care about all these other things more than they care about God. And so it just doesn't make sense. Like, we should care about God more than anything, right? And so one thing that fasting does is fasting reminds our flesh of what our spirit has always known. Our spirit knows that we're desperate for God, but our flesh forgets it. And so fasting is important because it reminds us of how we need God. And God knows that when we're well fed, when we're wealthy, when we're doing good in life, that's the time that we forget about God. And most people in our country, I don't know where you're watching this from. I know we have some people from other nations that watch, but most people in the first world, we have it so good that it's easy for us to forget about God. And so if you haven't fasted before or not in a while, I want to encourage you to try it, because it's putting yourself in a weak and feeble position. And the Bible says that when we are weak, he is strong, and he reveals himself to us in special ways. So let's finish with this, Jay. You asked, your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And you asked what? What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What do you think it means?
I don't know.
No guesses at all?
No.
Nope. Okay. Well, basically he talks about the secret place in the last all three of these. And so, you know what the secret place is.
Yeah.
What's the secret place?
Secret place is where you go and then you invite God to come and be with you.
Right. And so does anybody else know what your secret place is like?
I mean, a few people.
If you tell them, but
Yeah.
like, they're not in your secret place with God. That's a special place with you and him.
Yeah.
So what Jesus is saying is, secret place, by the way, is something that we do at our church or with our kids, is after worship or in worship, They
Yeah.
go and sit around the room
In
and
the slow song.
in the slow song. And our children's pastor says, hey kids, just go to your secret place, which is someplace in your mind where you can block out the distractions and just be with God and talk to him. And that's awesome that kids do that, but it's in many ways, kind of what Jesus is saying is, don't do all these things for other people to be seen by them, to be praised by them. Do them just in your heart, because you know that in the secret place, God sees you and God knows what you've done and God will reward you. And so, man, there's lots of takeaways, but I want to encourage you. Fasting is something that our culture has, many people have basically started to ignore or just not do at all. And it's something that's so good to help us draw close to God. If you're feeling distant from God, try fasting. If you're feeling like you don't hear from him, try fasting. If you're feeling like, man, I wish I was passionate for him, try fasting, because it will absolutely help draw you closer to him. So just want to invite you to consider that today, and we will plan on seeing you again tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.